So you have seen the Beekeeper that look, the density, the richness, the way shadows have the milky gray depth and highlights roll off instead of clipping hard. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to replicate it on any footage without breaking a single pixel. The construction and the counterintuitive part, the richness doesn't come from adding saturation. It comes from a precise ratio between how much you drop the luminance and how much you reduce the saturation simultaneously. Let's start with what most people get wrong about contrast. When you look at Rec. 709 footage on the parade scope, you are actually seeing information spread pure black at 0 and all the way up to pure white at 1023. That's the problem. Digital sensors capture everything linearly, which means your blacks aren't actually black, they are just dark gray. Your highlights aren't actually white, they are just bright gray. Film doesn't work that way. Film has a natural roll off. The blacks fade into nothing. The highlights compresses and soften, and that's what makes film look filmic. Now look at the Beekeeper reference. Notice something? There is no information below 128 points on the luminance scale. Everything below that is pure black. That is intentional. That's the first move we're going to tackle. We are going to take our Rec. 709 footage and increase the black point using the Film Tonal Curve tool until we cut off all of that crushed data below 128. Watch the parade scope as I do this. See how the shadow information compresses? That's not clipping, that's a very nice milky gray roll off. We are creating what we call the milky gray look in the shadows. It's not pure black, but it's not muddy either. It's that sweet spot where the shadows feel deep and organic. Next, we handle the highlights. We are going to reduce the white point and increase the highlight roll off. This softens the skin tones and prevents the harsh digital clip you get when you push exposure too far. Watch the parade scope again. See how the bright information now has this very smooth roll off instead of a hard wall at the top. This is where most colorists hit a wall. They don't have access to what we're about to use. Spectral contrast is a tool that most professionals dream of but never get their hands on. It's the secret weapon inside the contrast engine, and it works completely different from the traditional standard saturation or HSL adjustments. Here is the difference. When you increase saturation in most software, you are adding chroma equally across all channels. Red gets more red, blue gets more blue, and that's additive math. And it's almost always look plastic. Spectral contrast use channel contrast instead. Separate contrast for each of these channels separately. When I increase the blue contrast, watch the vectorscope. The color separation becomes very dynamic. The yellow pushes towards orange, the cyan pushes towards pure blue, but here is the critical part about the luminance. It doesn't move at all. I have got preserved luminance toggled on, which means I'm manipulating pure color contrast without affecting our brightness at all. And that is the tool that none of the NLEs have so far in the world. That's the power of this engine. You can create radical color separation without introducing blown out or crushed look that kills most grades. Now, the real magic happens with the subtractive density slider. That is the insight that changes everything. When you increase saturation in the real world, think of it like cooking. You have got water, you have got the food coloring. 1 drop, the water gets tinted but stays bright. 10 drops, the water gets darker and richer at the same time. That's subtractive density. As you increase saturation, the algorithm simultaneously decreases luminance in a very precise ratio, not a flat exposure drop, a proportional one. The more saturated the color becomes, the more it darkens. But the darkness feels very organic, not like you just crushed the exposure. Watch the parade scopes as I push the subtractive density slider. See how the color information gets denser, richer, more cinematic. The reds become deep reds. The blues and greens gets richer. The image doesn't look overexposed or underexposed. It looks like the quality of the film. That is the ratio that separates amateur from professional. Get it wrong and your image looks like you applied a filter. Get it right, you are replicating $100 million Hollywood production on a very simple plugin. The contrast engine calculates that precise ratio automatically using 32-bit float math that enforces the physics of real color. But of course, you don't apply this at all, it's totally up to you. But the function is that we are almost there. One final layer, the shadows need their own color treatment. Look at our Beekeeper reference again. the shadows aren't just pure black. They have a tint of cyan in them. That's split toning required, and it's the detail that separates a good gray from a great one. So now we are using the film split tone tool. We are going to introduce cyan in the shadow areas. This works on top of the tonal curve we have established earlier. I can either reduce the red channel in the shadows to push cyan in the shadows, or I can rotate and split the hue directly until I get the right color. Watch the eyedropper as I sample the reference. See what the blue pixel lit? That's our target. Now I rotate the hue in the split tone tool until the shadow matches the cyan tonality. The vector scope updates in real time. The shadows now have that very cool, nice cyan cast. Yet, the highlight and other grades we have done still have the warm yellow from the skin and the environment. The image is now perfectly split toning in the shadows and highlights balanced. This final move completes the entire grade. We have shaped the luminance with the tonal curve, we have created color density with spectral contrast, and subtractive density embedded. We have added the final color personality with split toning, separate treatment of highlight, midtone, and shadows. All this was achieved without leaving the plugin at all, without introducing any bending artifacts or any degradation to the image. That's the power of 32-bit float math working inside this plugin. That's the complete transformation of flat Rec. Servo 09 footage to cinema in 3 different phases. The contrast engine is $99 standalone, or included in the full PFA Color Suite 7.2 at $208. Grab the trial, test it on your own footage, and watch the full CinePulse AI breakdown next for the one-click alternatives to grade anything you want. Subscribe for more color grading workflows and breakdowns like this so you can understand the process, how we interpret a reference frame and bring that grade to an image. I'm Nash, Passion Fuels Ambition. I shall see you in the next one.